Get A, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. We're continuing to do our series where you get to know the folks at the Department of Justice and our affiliated offices, Office of the Prosecutor, for example, which is what we'll be covering today. And I'm very happy to have Chief Prosecutor and Deputy Chief Prosecutor here with us. She Ethel Branch and Chef Be Patwitney Nishlan, Nakai Bashis Chin, Sitna Jenny Dasha Ado Nakai Dashanella. And I'm the nation's 13th Attorney General. This is my second term serving the nation in this capacity. And very happy to be with you all here today. And of course, to give an opportunity for our listeners to get to know the Chief Prosecutor and the Deputy Chief Prosecutor a little bit more. And some of the thinking behind this is, especially for our young people, is to share the different paths that folks have taken to these positions within the Department of Justice and the Office of the Prosecutor, so you can kind of see, what it looks like, what the journey might look like. And as I'm sure you're all taking away, is that everyone has a different journey. And there's no special formula. If there's something that you enjoy doing, particularly with respect to the law, and law is really, if you like reading and you like writing, debating, or being persuasive, then it's a really good match for you. If you have a strong sense of justice, especially, and you want to protect victims, the Office of the Prosecutor in particular is a good match. But with no further ado, I'm going to have the Chief Prosecutor and Deputy Chief join us. So thank you both for being here with us today. It's great to see you, although virtually, of course. We all seem to have better office accommodations now than we did a year ago, huh?
Definitely, yes.
Great. Well, I have a number of questions I want to ask you both, but if you could just give an introduction of yourselves to our listeners, and then we'll launch into the interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Attorney General. My name is Vernon Jackson. It's a pleasure to be here today. I hope to share with you certain aspects of my journey that will help for you to understand how it is that I made it here to the Office of the Prosecutor as the Chief Prosecutor. I'm originally from Chinle, born and raised in Chinle. I started my life in Chinle and grew up there. Went to high school there, and then went on to college. And I went to Boston University and also Bellevue University. I graduated with my undergraduate degree from Boston University and a MBA from Bellevue University. And I have worked with the Navajo Police. I have also worked several years with the Hopi tribe, and I also worked a significant amount of time with the federal government in Dallas, in uh, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in Albuquerque, and also in Washington D.C. So I have a lot to share. In when the Attorney General asks specific questions, I hope to share with you some of those pieces that would help you to understand who I am and where I'm coming from. Again, I thank you very much for being here today and for hearing us and getting to know us better.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Deputy Chief?
Good afternoon, all. My name is Denise Billy. Tsitna Jini Nishlo, Desh Chini Bashish Chin, the Bethlehem Dashiche da Bits Acne Dashanella. I'm originally from South of Gallup, a place known as Jones Ranch. I'm going to just kind of go along with what Chief had provided as far as, I went to Gallup High School, went to college, University of New Mexico, University of Phoenix, and the University of Oklahoma. And I started my career with law enforcement with the Navajo Nation in 1996. And, just basically going from working the patrol areas in Window Rock, and eventually going out to Crown Point as a criminal investigator, and later transferring out to Pueblo of Laguna and to the Pueblo of Isleta, and then eventually going into the state, being with the district attorney's office with Bernalillo County is where I ended my law enforcement career. And happy to say that I was able to take the bar exam. And I'm very happy I did, because it gives a whole different view of law enforcement, the justice system. And I'm very happy to be working here with the Office of the Prosecutors with Navajo Nation.
Great. Thanks so much, Deputy Chief. Okay, well, you guys fielded some of my initial questions. So, Chief, what took you from Chinle High School to Boston University? That's quite a trek to make. What inspired you to head out there for your undergraduate degree?
I did want to go somewhere different than University of New Mexico or close by in Arizona, and I shot for the furthest east as I could, and it was a real interesting journey, and I equated to the time that I started with the federal government working as a special agent in Dallas, Texas. The first day that I arrived there, I looked up at this big old skyscraper, and it was like maybe 30 feet high, 30 stories high. And I just like, how did I get here? How in the world did I get here? And it was the same way when I moved from Chinle to Boston, where it was a different world, a different experience, which really helped me to become more aware of a larger world that's around me, whereby I could gain some real significance from that. Basically, the journey was centered on the personal decision to do something outside of the normal, to step out of the comfort zone and to move into an area where I had no connections, no friend, no relatives, or anything like that. But for 4 years, I was there to learn, and it was the best experience that I had, and I'm glad I did. So I hope I answer your question, Madam AG.
Yeah, that's great. And so you went out there and you stayed. So you went from Boston to Dallas, or was there?
I went from Boston to Albuquerque, and from Albuquerque I went to Dallas, and then from Dallas I went to Baton Rouge, and then I went back to Dallas, and then from Dallas I went to Washington D.C., and that's where I finished up my federal 22 years with the federal government as a special agent. So that's my history there.
Wow, that's great. And what inspired you to go into law enforcement?
I honestly, this is going to be kind of a funny story, but I'm going to say it anyway. As I was growing up, I watched a lot of television in Chinle, and I remember watching shows like Gomer Pyle, and I loved the uniform. I just loved the uniform, and every time somebody came with a new stripe on their shoulder, I just like, oh wow, that's just so cool, and it started getting ingrained like that. And then I watched shows like Andy Griffin, Barney Fife, and the comedy part sort of law enforcement. And I spent a lot of time watching Dragnet and also Adam 12 and a little bit of Hawaii 5-0. But by that time, I was fully integrated. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into law enforcement. And in many ways, the prosecutor's office is that way. We are identified as the chief law enforcement officers for the Navajo Nation. So there's a lot of correlation. There's quite a bit of application that is being made here.
Great, great. Well, thanks for that insight. And Deputy Chief, tell us a little bit about your path as well. So you stayed a little more local. What inspired you to pursue your degrees, and then what inspired you to go into law enforcement?
So I'm going to start off with my law enforcement career because I was actually probably about probably 9 years old, 10 years old. My mom had dragged me to a chapter house, and I guess she just wanted me to be well versed in the system. And so while I was sitting there, a Navajo police officer, a female Navajo police officer, showed up, and her boots were shined, and she had this ciel in her hair, and it was just like really awesome because you'd see just like male officers out on the road, are responding, and in movies you see like it's a male dominant profession, and for her to come in as a Navajo woman, showing her culture and everything, and her TL and everything like that, I thought that was really impressive. And I said, okay, that's what I want to do. And so I took courses while in high school. I took some college courses in law enforcement, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, my parents were like, no, that's only for men. And so I had to prove them wrong. So shortly after, because I wasn't able to go into the police academy because I was underage, I had to wait until 21. So after that, I went to Navajo Nation, went to Toye in Arizona for the police academy, and it was an experience. It was very good, and just the training there taught me a lot of stuff that I'm now using to this day. So yeah, that's my law enforcement career. I stayed with Navajo Nation for about 17 years. I went from patrol to criminal investigator, worked with criminal investigations in Crown Point for about 8 years. I then transferred, I went back to school part-time, and I just like, there has to be more to this, just working criminal investigations. So I then went back to school. It took me a while, but because, family life and everything. So it took a while, and I went out to apply for a position for the Pueblo of Laguna, was there for about a year. And thereafter I went out to Pueblo of Isleta as their criminal investigator sergeant. I was able to do start a lot of their cases working with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and we submitted a lot of cases there. And working a lot with the U.S. Attorney's Office, it had allowed me to work closely with the U.S. attorneys, and they had offered me a contract position, working under the MMIP, which is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons, as being a coordinator. And I worked with them, creating a lot of the tribal community response plans, working with tribal leaders from the Pueblos to all the Pueblos here in New Mexico, and then also with Navajo Nation. And it was a very good experience. I was able to meet a lot of tribal leaders, police captains, and so I was able to meet a lot of people. Thereafter, I had applied for a position because I'm not as young as I used to be. I decided that I wanted to come home and be closer to home and be closer to family. So I've applied for the Navajo Nation prosecutor, and I was able to take the bar exam, and it was a very good experience.
That's great. Wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing all of that. That's very insightful. And so, do you guys have any recommendations that you would provide to young people who are interested in law enforcement and, in particular, becoming a prosecutor?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that first of all, and let me say that we've had a real good opportunity here at the Office of the Prosecutor to work with several students who are now in law school to serve as law clerks with the Office of the Prosecutor. We just um, had one, a gentleman, a young man by the name of Jerwin Begay, who was very, very, very impactful in more than one ways, and well, more than one way, and uh, looking for opportunities like that. If you're interested in being a prosecutor, is gold, in my opinion, because you get a lot of the on hands experience, you get a lot of the exposure to exactly what is going to be required as a Navajo Nation prosecutor, and I am continuing to go further on looking for particularly Navajo uh, um, um, law school students who are interested in a career as a prosecutor. And I'm always looking. So to me, the answer to your question, Madam Attorney General, I think one of the best ways I could offer up a recommendation is to link in to some of these opportunities that might be there. We have offices throughout all of the Navajo Nation, so opportunities are just wide open right now. We have a number of changes that have happened within the Office of the Prosecutor that is really attracting some really, really good talent. So I would recommend that they kind of lock into something like that, Madam AG.
Okay. Deputy Chief, any recommendations?
Yeah, I think that just starting off with a small office, and just kind of getting your feet wet, and then working your way up to you know um, being the supervisor, or be in that situation. I think that working with any department, coming in, experiencing, what cases are coming in, um, having knowledge within, your criminal procedures, your civil procedures, your rules of evidence, just having knowledge of that, and using it within the prosecutor's office, I think is very good.
And what would you say are like good skills or good points of aptitude? Like if someone likes a particular thing, they're more likely to enjoy working in the prosecutor's office.
I think that I have several grandchildren, and I have this granddaughter who is very uh, articulate and also persuasive in the way she talks and the way that she states her case. And I think that people who have that skill, who have that ability to speak and to speak their mind and do it in a persuasive way, in an assertive way, really is a skill that I think is helpful in the courtroom. As we see many of these prosecutors going into battles, literally battles in some of these cases, where defense counsel is trying to get their client off the hook, no jail, no time type of a thing. and they fight hard for them. And you need fighters. I call all my prosecutors, all the prosecutors who work with the Office of the Prosecutor, warriors, modern day warriors, because they're out there fighting for the Navajo people to ensure the safety of Navajo communities. So I think an attribute that is early on, especially as a young child and growing up into high school, a type of a thing. If you're articulate, you like to talk, you're persuasive, you like to state your case, and you're confident. Those are excellent qualities for a prosecutor.
And I think also being compassionate and, just being driven to, what you want to do. My mom had always encouraged, and she always instilled in us, you're doing this for yourself, and you're also doing it for our dana out there, and for the children and the elderlies as well. So I think, just being driven to help, I think is a good attribute.
Yeah, I think what's really inspiring too is when you have someone who's interested like that, particularly even like a law school student who has those attributes, to see their Navajo. It really does bring about a real sort of moment of saying, "Wow, this is really powerful," because at this level and in this league, I really feel like it takes a real focus and motivated and a set forth individual to come into an office of the prosecutor and to be a prosecutor and to go into the courts and to argue the cases and to be able to persuade the judge, a judge and a jury that the person is guilty of the crime is really a noble and an honorable employment. And so I think that Denise might say the same thing too, that we're having a ball here. This is great. This is a great opportunity for us where we're engaged in making Navajo communities safer. We're rising up people and developing people who can really become crime fighters in the best sense of the word. Thank you.
Okay. How much time do you guys spend in the courtroom, and maybe just give an insight on the role that you play as chief prosecutor and deputy chief prosecutor?
So I will say that right now we have a number of prosecutors that are working for us, but we do also have some vacancies in some districts, which we're filling up here. In 2 days, we're going to bring on 2 more prosecutors September 9th. When we don't have a prosecutor in a certain office, it is incumbent upon me and the deputy chief prosecutor to step in to do what's necessary to make sure that cases are covered. And sometimes all the prosecutors are fully engaged, full court press. There's nobody. We have to step in. We have to be the ones who have to be in court. So as far as we're concerned, that time that we actually spend in court to deal with the cases, to argue the cases, whatnot, I would say it's about maybe 20 to 30% of the time, and it could go a little bit higher, up to 40, 50% of the time if we have a need in a certain area, and it's a complex case like a involuntary commitment act case, or some really egregious elderly abuse case where there is real difficulty in putting all the evidence into place and lining up all the witnesses and having all your testimonies in order and your strategy, set forth. It takes a lot of effort. So that's the percentage rates that I can give you as far as how much we actually participate in the courtroom. I'll also say that at the district level, which I've prosecuted cases at the district level in Crown Point, Chinle, Window Rock, I've done that for at least almost 3 to 4 years. And in doing that, you can spend, I would say, almost 70, 80% of your time in court dealing with both children's cases and also adult cases. So that's my answer to your question.
I guess on my part, it would be, I think there's a lot of time that you would put into a single case, whether it be a children's case, that you would have to continue following that case throughout its entirety, as well as, like Chief said, working adult cases, criminal cases, and then also working along with the U.S. Attorney's Office and, working with some of the state offices as well, some that are requesting for extraditions, that sort of thing. So I think it is time consuming, but it's good time consuming.
Yes. You might, Deputy Chief Prosecutor, you might tell them about some of the interactions that you've been involved in with the Navajo police concerning the coordination of some of the extraditions that have been ensuing recently, because there's a number of them that have gone through.
Yeah. So recently, we've, I believe, since we've had our major crimes unit up and they've been presenting themselves out there, we've been able to work jointly with the state, Gallup PD, Farmington, state offices or state police departments, and working to set up, assisting them in obtaining search warrants or arrest warrants on individuals that are here on the Navajo Nation. And so we kind of like keep that communication open with our state police departments and the state agencies. So we do a lot of communications between our prosecutor's office to law enforcement who may assist in executing a search warrant or executing an arrest warrant. So yeah, that's how we work with our cases here within the prosecutor's office.
And I think along the lines of the journey that we're talking about, the theme here, I think that the audience needs to really see how that when you make it to this level and you make it as a prosecutor with the Navajo Nation specifically, you can really, really make an impact in the communities around the Navajo Nation with your mind and with your voice and with your intellect, as you really be involved in that part of law enforcement that sometimes people forget about. And that is, it's not one thing to put on the handcuffs and put them in jail, but these guys got to be prosecuted. And it's our job to prosecute these individuals and to find if there's any kind of culpability on their part.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about your goals and your priorities in the Office of the Prosecutor. One thing that I found very remarkable is, when we came in at the beginning of this administration, we were experiencing pretty high vacancies across the board in the Department of Justice and Office of the Prosecutor. And you've really been able to turn that around, and I'm so impressed with it. I think you guys are now at 90% employment. So tell us a little bit about that, and then also your priorities with the office.
Yes, I'll take a stab at that and say that yes, when we first started this walk together, Madam AG Branch, we did have a conversation at the very beginning about the role of the Office of the Prosecutor. And since that day, as we look at where we're at now, there has been significant progress. And if the Navajo people could really see exactly how a lot of those progressions are helping to hold criminals responsible, I think that the idea that there's no justice on the Navajo Nation would be somewhat rebutted in terms of all the things that we're doing here. I want to talk to you a little bit about the way that we've been getting prosecutors in. The first way is I discovered early on that many of the prosecutor positions here with the Navajo Nation, many of the individuals that were being brought in were brought in at the low level, at the entry level. And so there was a process of reclassification. There was a process of changing some of the roles to increase the salaries and whatnot. And so that's one way that we have helped to bring in more people. I have people calling me, asking me about opportunities and whatnot, because they had heard that somebody got hired on and it was a good appointment for them as far as salaries. And so that really has generated a lot of the interest in our office. I'm not going to say that all the work is ready. We have enough people to do the work. I will not say that. But what I will say is that the vacancies with the office of the prosecutor are scarce. They're becoming more and more scarce as people, hey, do you have a position open? This is my current salary. You know what? We have no. I've had to say that once or twice, that we have no positions open. But as people leave or retire or move on or whatever, decide to move to another department, let's say, then yeah, those openings do occur. But it's been a lot of work to get folks in. We've gone out to law schools, we've gone out to conferences, we've set up tables, we've done that also. And I have like at least 2 or 3 prosecutors who are really good at recruiting also, and they themselves have brought in individuals that way. So that is sort of the response to the thought about how do we get up to 90%? What did we do? Some of the goals that we have with our office is to really focus on some of the major crimes that are not being prosecuted by the federal government. We've done quite a bit. We've done reports. We've hired attorneys, attorney prosecutors. We've opened up a whole new unit. We've opened up training opportunities for these folks. We're talking about making our attorneys special assistant United States attorneys. That's the level we're at. That's the level we're at, and that's the way that we're kind of moving to have a seat at the table, so that we would be able, the Navajo Nation would have an ability to be able to say how a certain crime is going to be prosecuted to a certain extent. Obviously, we're not the federal government, but if we've got that connection, we most certainly can have a voice at the table. We didn't have that before. That wasn't in existence before. And now you look around us. I mean, our office space, it's grown. Our status has grown. Federal folks, state folks, dignitaries are coming and they're meeting, and we're talking about how we can deal with crime. So one of the goals is to deal with the major crimes that are not being prosecuted by the federal government. That's the first goal. The second goal is to begin to really understand how we retain prosecutors, how we retain them. There are a number of different things that we're doing now. We've given some bonuses in some sense to some of the prosecutors. We've also we're getting ready to recognize a number of the prosecutors at a event that we're going to have in Flagstaff later next month, recognizing their work and what they've done. The goal again, to keep them, to retain them. The more licensed individuals that we have to practice law, the more application that we can make into engaging in the cases and moving the cases forward. So that's one of the goals. Second goal is retention. The third goal that I think is one of the important ones that we have here is to develop our backbone, and that is the legal secretaries that we have within our program. We have a number of them throughout the Navajo Nation. Perhaps you're not interested in being a prosecutor. Perhaps you want to be a legal secretary and work your way up, so to speak. That's highly possible too. So we're working to establish a good, robust program for our legal support staff. We have IT people. We have folks who are victim witness advocates. We have legal secretaries, senior legal secretaries. We have legal secretaries. So there's a number of different positions that we have. Right now, we're running total 50 people in the Office of the Prosecutor. That's going to be nationwide as we take that into consideration. So that's my response to you, Madam AG.
Great. Well, we'll have to work on expanding the number of positions you have when you fill those positions. That's
yes.
outstanding.
Interestingly, we do have, and I'm really excited about this, about BIA through the courts are going to fund almost $500,000 allocation for 6 more prosecutors, 6 more. And they'll be funded under that grant. And so we're really, really looking forward to that also. The more prosecutors we have, the more cases can be looked at and the more they can be pressed forward. Thank you.
That's great. And that's another thing that you've been really successful at is being able to identify and secure grant funding to strengthen your program. And so
absolutely. It is we have a really, really good grants administrator that works with us in our office, and she has been really instrumental in helping us to set up what's necessary to get us in the right position to ask for a lot of those grants. And we have a victim witness advocate grant also. We have the opportunity to look at how that we can, that is like a whole new field within the Office of the Prosecutor also, is the victim witness advocate program. We recently hired Juanita Martinez as the principal witness advocate, and she's making some real good headways. She's getting into policies. She's getting into a strategy. We're going to start a pilot project in Delcom in relation to the victim witness program as we collect the data necessary to figure out how we would replicate it throughout the entire Navajo Nation. So she's at the forefront of that. So yes, grants have been a real big part of our success.
Great. Well, tell us, I mean, you've been pretty busy the last couple of years. I feel like my job is just to get out of your way and be supportive of the amazing work that you guys are doing. And you are getting close on the Title 17 amendments, it feels like, which is really great.
Yes.
And then staffing up, of course, which is huge. And then the major crimes unit, getting that in place has been really great. It seems like you have some really promising young attorneys in that unit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what lies ahead for the Office of the Prosecutor.
Yes, I think, and I don't mean to jump ahead of you.
Oh, no, that's fine.
But I really think that one of the biggest things that's going to really make a big impact is the way we're dealing with major crimes on the Navajo Nation, the way that we're pressing forward with this idea that the Navajo people should be at the table. We're bringing in the talent. We're bringing in the caliber of people who can take the ball and begin to run with it. We're going to give an award at the award ceremony to highlight how this progression is really beginning to show benefits, as well as other areas within the Office of the Prosecutor. But one of the biggest areas I think that we're going to see a real big results in and benefit in is once we get the attorneys who are in the major crimes unit commissioned, credentialed as assistant U.S. attorney, assistant special U.S. attorney. SALSA is what they're called. And every one of the districts, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, they're all chomping at the bit. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Let's get. We're waiting for one thing in that unit to take place, and once we're done with that one piece, we're going to bring all three of them in at the same time, and we're going to see how that we can make that happen. So I'm just really, really looking forward to how that begins to take form and shape. The Victims Witness Advocate Program also is another one. We have positions that are going to be advertised soon for VWAs. For I believe there's 4 more VWAs that we're going to be advertising for. We have funding for the next 2 years for them, so that brings a little bit of a stability for them. And with Juanita at the forefront, we are envisioning a program that's going to begin to really expand and begin to really integrate into many of the cases more than they have before. For instance, family violence. Family violence cases on the Navajo Nation really does need a lot of attention. And we're doing some things to help to create a pathway as to figuring out how we could develop pilot projects to help us to create that structure better. How do we make decisions about holding people in 36 hours? How do we make sure that we have pleadings in the court to say that the person should be held because they're a danger to the community, a danger to themselves, or they're a flight risk type of a thing. We're looking at the dysfunction of perhaps of some of those things that we're studying. So there's a lot of movement in that area also, and I'm really looking. My vision here is one that sees 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 prosecutors who are doing nothing but family violence cases, to make them experts in those family violence cases, to be able to know how to argue those cases in a way that they're winning the cases based on the merits of it, let's say. And so that's what my vision is as I look towards that. But I need the police with me. I need them to be by my side as we're working this together. And we're working that right now. We're working a plan. We're working out a situation to figure out how we can implement this pilot project. So that's the second thing I wanted to mention as far as the big things that are happening that we're actually, that's kind of like a third. And the last one that I'll say is having a new deputy chief prosecutor. She has opened up. I'm telling you, she's opened up the doorways in more ways than one that has allowed me to move at a higher level and to do what I need to do to get the 3,000 foot in the air things done while she takes care of the daily stuff. And that daily stuff can be really, really taxing as she deals with all the crime, all of the issues around the Navajo Nation, and as she juggles all the hearings to make sure all the hearings are being covered, handling all the administration. So she's taking that, and that really is a really, really big plus for me. So I'm gonna stop there and maybe just open it up to maybe something that Denise might want to say.
No, I think, in my perspective, assisting Chief Jackson in a lot of his vision is really good on my part, because I'm here. I'm also learning from him as well, the budgets, and working some of these cases, and he's kind of like the person, our guidance in a lot of things. So just with his vision and everything, and him sharing it with us. And, he has a lot of support from the staff, from his staff, and for me as well. So yeah, definitely whatever Chief said, we're right behind him.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Denise. I see Denise really growing here in the next year or two as we move forward. I really see her really. She said something to me the other day. This is like a learned, journey. No, she said something to me the other day that was really inspiring. She said she shared with me that she loves her job. She likes her job, that she enjoys what she's doing, and I could see it in her face. I can hear it in her voice. You know what? That's the best thing to have. That's the best thing to have, to have somebody who loves their job and loves their work. Maybe she hasn't been here for years and whatnot. Maybe when she gets a taste of it, maybe somebody might say, well, she'll change her mind. She goes to a lot. No. I'm a strong believer that if somebody can be able to look at their job in that way, they're able to carry it forward, and they're able to see bigger and better things. So I'm going to expect a lot of big things from her as she goes forward and as she acclimates to her new role. So that's my thought.
Thanks for that, Chief.
Well, thank you both for making time today. I know you're very busy, and I don't want to take you away from the important things you have to do. But thank you so much for sharing with us today and giving the public an opportunity to learn a little bit more about yourselves and the work that you're doing and the office and your leadership. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for making this happen, Madam AJ. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Go on, Matt.